Go live. 3, 2, 1. I love the countdown. It's like showtime. Getting everybody joining in on Zoom with us, Josie. It's super duper. I love seeing everybody's faces. And I love it. We should have a prize for everyone who turns up, like 3 nights in a row. Shell, you've been here. Leonie, it wouldn't be a boob camp without Leonie. Who else has been here for the 3? Mads, of course. Okay, just getting everybody in. So we are live on Boob Camp and we are live in our Zoom room. So for those of you joining in Zoom, can give me a thumbs up. How has the last 2 nights been? Great, you've learned a lot. Beautiful.
Been very informative.
Thank you, Leonie. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Tracy, great. Yes. So tonight, welcome to Boob Camp Day 3, April. We are in April. And it is a very, very special night because I get to introduce you to Josie Giles. Now, Jose, I made a phone call to you. I don't even know when. And it was
I know when.
when was it?
It was March last year.
Yes.
Yeah,
okay.
March last year. Yeah.
And I said, Josie, we're so busy. We need staff. We need you. Where are you? And you're like, Chelsey, I'm actually driving from Mackay down to Brisbane. What do you need? I would love to help out. I'm there. I'm going to show up because I need to be part of this change, and I want to make such a big difference in women's health. And you have bought as a naturopath, we learn a broad array of lots of things. You bought the gut health. I welcome you very much into Boob Camp. I honor that you turned up and helped me and helped so many women in our clinic. And, I know how you fell in love with all of our clients, just like I did. And it was tremendously hard closing the doors. It was tremendously hard, I know, for you to leave and go and open up and work up in Mackay again, and for me to close the doors on my clinic. And because the women that came, right, can you remember some of the stories of the clients? Did you want to share?
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, look, the women that were coming through the door were pretty much at their lowest point. They were trying to they just didn't know where to start. One lady had been laying on the couch for 12 months, been to the doctor, nothing wrong with her yet. She couldn't get off the couch. And so when she came through the door, we had some chats, got her on the table, and we started doing her lymphatics and sent her home with a set of gloves and the whole kit. Booked her in for a few sessions. I think we booked her in for a package of 10 or something like that. And she kept coming back. And each week she was brighter and brighter and brighter. And with that, we talked about food changes. We talked about gut health. We talked about colonics. We talked about all sorts of things, And she took on board what she felt she needed at the time, which was great, because everybody's got to do their steps by step, to create that energy to get better. Another lady, lymphedema, and she works upstairs in her house looking after her grandson, and was just, crying basically. And she sleeps with the compression set. It is that good. Doing her lymphatics and sleeping with a compression set. Another lady came in, diagnosed from the doctor with a lipedema, wasn't it? I think lymphedema. She's always been a very big girl, and she come bubbly ass bouncing through the door. Guess what, Joe? I've got stage 3. And I went, wow, yeah, right, great. There's the room, let's talk about it. Got into the room and she was bawling her eyes out because she finally got diagnosed. And she wasn't just fat, She wasn't just, had all these conditions as a young child. She'd been bullied and all these things. She actually had a condition. And now she mentally can deal with that condition and is, doing a lymphatics, also got the compression set, and also going through some changes there. So I can keep going on and
Yeah,
on.
the skin conditions, the
Oh,
tinnitus, the
yeah.
the like it's the gut problems, like everyone that we saw
Mm,
that was coming through the door, it was you and I would look and go, we helped with that.
yeah.
Like,
It's just
like
like, I
and
did that.
I did that. And
Just I'm winging it.
yeah, all we
Just
do
winging
is
it.
so simple.
No. And you know what, Chelsea? I mean, when I got there, I was not in a good state myself. And when we share the screen, I mean, I can share the screen now
Yeah,
if you want.
let's go. Let's go
And
into your story, Jose.
you're going to see this photo and you're going to go, is that the same woman? Okay. I don't know. Can you see that? That coming up?
Yes. Can
Yeah.
everybody see that? Can I get some
So if you have a look at the dates on that, that was August 2024. Now I left, I think, not long just before that, Chelsea.
Mm.
I left you, and then I went and done my cleansing program. But what amazes me is that I look back at that lady and I don't even know who she was. You know.
How many kilos did you lose with me, Jose?
I lost probably 5 to start with, so I was there for 5 or 6 months.
Yes.
And for the first month, I didn't, I know all this stuff, but I was that inflamed with, look, it was trauma. It was all trauma related.
Yeah.
And when you're in a trauma situation, you tend to go for all the wrong foods because your stress levels and your, hormones change, your candida rises up, and then all you want to do is eat things that you know you shouldn't be eating, but you can't stop because you're in this flight and fight mode for so long. And I was just piling on weight and piling on weight. And yet in my head, I look good. In my head, I felt great. I still bounce through Chelsea's door every day, but when I was doing the lymphatics, I really got back into the lymphatics every day, lost 2 kilos straight up within the first week of doing it, And
And then the
then,
emotions start rolling as well, don't they,
yeah,
Jose?
absolutely, absolutely. And then I thought, hang on a minute, I remember now. I remember all about, because I'm a body ecologist, sorry, a body ecologist, colonics hydrotherapist, lymphatic massage, integrative nutrition, and that was back down in 2016. So I learned a lot about body ecology and the importance about cleansing and good eating and fermented foods and how they can play a great part in your body and the effects that candida can have in your body and mentally, emotionally, and anxiety and all those things come with a really toxic body. So once I started doing the lymphatics, the brain fog started to come down. It was like someone slowly pulling the plug in the bath. Okay, just pull the plug a little bit, and then, a little bit of water goes to, oh, yeah, now I remember. Yeah, and then the plug sits there for a bit, and then you pull the plug again, and then, oh, yeah, I remember it more now. And then pulled, and then all of a sudden, it's gone. So now, I'm like you, Chelsea. I just have to go
Yeah,
like
just
that.
gotta keep it.
Yeah. And it's like,
And can you
now
see?
just
Yeah,
activate straight up,
yeah, I'm tingly all over
Yeah. Yeah.
just hearing my glove.
Yeah. And I often thought about that when you said that when I first started, and I'm like, it's not working. But it
So,
is now.
Candida Jose, like I know when I had my figure toning salon that I would get people to do the spit test.
Oh,
So
yeah.
you get
Yeah.
a glass of water and you spit into the glass of water first thing in the morning. And if your spit is on the top, you have candida and it will take a month to get rid of. If it's hanging in the middle, you've got more candida in your body and it'll take 2 months. And if it sits on the bottom in a glumpy, stumpy,
Yeah.
then your body is riddled with candida. So I knew if I had two women come in, one had candida and one didn't, the one who didn't have candida would lose their weight like that. They have no trouble at all. The one who has candida, they are going to work their butt off. They're going to half starve themselves and they're going to get maybe a kilo loss, and then tiny baby little increments, and then they get frustrated. The candida, the worms, and all of the bad bacteria in their gut is going to say, go to the fridge, eat more sugar, and then take over. So did you want to talk us through? Oh, look, that's the next slide, Joyce.
Well, I've just jumped down to that one because we're on that topic. So that's how the night's going to roll. We're going to go from here to there. I can see that now. Look, there's a slide there. So, if you're struggling with sleep disorders, migraines, anxiety. Now, I had anxiety extremely bad. I couldn't even get in a lift. And, and once I started doing my body ecology and stuff like that, that all calmed down and my anxiety went. Cravings for carbs, depression. If this is not good, if your ecosystem in your stomach is no good, this is not going to be good, Dementia, Alzheimer's, it's all related and gut related. So cleaning up the candida. So this is what a yeast infection will look like in the body, Systemic yeast infection will always show up on the skin, and you can see it in rash forms like that. Or, if you go out in the sun and you get these little white dots and blotches, and sometimes they're raised a little bit, that's an yeast infection in the skin. So that's a pure indication that you have candida because, your tongue, and I listened last night that oil pooling and tongue scraping is valuable. And the junk that you can scrape off your tongue in the morning is incredible. So it affects your hormones, it makes you craving for foods and that's where the fermented foods can come in to help that craving for candida, because it's just running rampant through your blood. And what's interesting, and a lot of people don't understand, these little babies here, if we do not clean our act up before we fall pregnant, and we happen to be systemic, which is, running through your blood system now, we are feeding that to our baby once it starts to, develop in the womb. So, and the clear indication of that when we do have babies is cradle cap, it's, constipation, it's diarrhea in babies, it's lots of colic, screaming, crying, babies don't stop, and then mum doesn't get, like, they just don't stop. Yep.
Joe, can you please change, I don't know if Mads is just asking if we can change to speaker view.
How do I do that?
Up the top, there'll be a button that says view.
Yep.
If you can press on that and click on speaker.
Yep. Okay, is that better?
Is that better for everybody? Greg, Mona, Shell, Haley,
does that make better?
It's the same.
Oh,
yeah.
Let me see if my volume's all the way up. Yeah, my volume's all the way
but
up.
I can hear.
Yeah.
You can hear, but just the speaker, the view, so we can see the slides a bit better.
I can see.
You can see it? Okay, all good. All
Right.
good. Okay, thanks, Hales. Yeah, so prepping for pregnancy. Like, honestly, I knew that, so I put in a good at least 6 months before I even tried to have Cohen. We both cleaned up our diet. We both went on all the herbs, did all of the, everything, the no alcohol, the lot. Because if I'm going to decide to have a baby, it's going to be a super duper baby, and I'm going to put everything that I can into being the best version, have all of myself. That I can to have that. And even prepping for my hysterectomy, I made sure that I did a vaginal swab to check out what was going on down there first before I'm going to go into hospital at all and get any infections.
Yeah.
We're just not told to do it.
No, and we're not given enough information when we want to have babies, So, and look, it is part of the reason we do have children today that are suffering from ADD, ADHD, skin problems, autism, all these sorts of things. Our babies are compromised before they even get started. A baby's inflammation markers should be no more than 5 when they're born. Our baby's inflammation markers are way off tap. they're
Yeah.
way off track.
And
So
cesareans, so they're not getting to go through and pick up all the bacteria.
that's right. They're not getting inoculated through that process, which inoculates their gut, and then that puts that lining in their stomach, so they're able to, and then having breast milk. Some mums don't do breast milk, and look, it's no judgment on any half. Sometimes you have to have a Caesar, but sometimes we just opt that too, and sometimes we won't go to bottle feeding because we don't have the support to be able to want to breastfeed. But some people, it's a personal choice and there's no judgment to that.
No.
But it is the best thing for your baby. And
we do know that for women, the best way to detoxify their body and themselves is to have a baby.
Yeah,
because you're giving it all to.
It drains, and that's where your morning sickness can also get quite bad. If we've got a high level of toxicity running through the body and a lot of inflammation and a lot of dysbiosis and everything like that, that's going to be drained. Because you've got to think about this blood is just like your lymphatics, Chelsey. It's all running through your body, and that's our flushing system. But it's also our blood that needs to be cleaned before it goes into the placenta. And if we're not doing anything about it, then our poor babies will be the ones that end up suffering. And you can see here too, any of the symptoms that are familiar with anybody: the Crohn's disease, colitis, IBS, mood swings, cravings, ADD, memory loss, asthma, sinuses, chronic ear infections, joint pain, rheumatoid arthritis. It's acne, skin problems. It all comes from the environment. Your ecosystem is not in a very good shape, and so these things will show up.
It's coming to light a lot more, Jose, especially I'm seeing research with MS about how this is all connected to parasites.
Yeah. Should we go to the next slide?
Yes, let's go to the next slide.
Well, look, there's a bit of a slide that is, Candida affects your estrogen levels. I'm happy to share any of these slides if anybody does have, like the birth control pill, that has a huge effect. And then what happens is, like it says there, it gives us a false estrogen reading, and so your adrenals and your ovaries are sort of it's all linked. So when we're having high levels of Candida, it does give the estrogen levels a false sort of sense. So, there's your baby stuff and your hormones. So yeah, I was going to go to parasites, weren't I? So when you've got Candida, you do have parasites, and here we go. So cleansing, we might also jump straight into cleansing then, Chelsey, because that's important. So part of my wellness program is I've just been over to Bali. After leaving Chelsey, I opted to sort of like go back to Mackay, and then I had to, I thought about, now what do I do? I went through a few things. I'm going to work part-time doing my lymphatic massage in the clinic where I work now, and then I might go back out the mines. And then I went and got a medical done, and it came back with a little bit of a sus thing of my diaphragm was enlarged. Well, it was enlarged because everything else was inflamed and enlarged, so that was no given there. But I ended up getting a scan on my diaphragm, which took in from your head down to your waist, and in that my thyroid showed up, and it wasn't actually a good result. And it came back with that the left side was quite small, the right side of my thyroid was quite enlarged, and then I had some, heaps of nodules, and one of them was a little bit, had been, like, I think she called it calcified or something like that. So I went, holy hell, this is probably not a good idea. And then the doctors want to get it aspirated, and then it's like, book you in for that. And it's like, I got and seen the doctor to see whether I need to do this aspiration, and they booked me in, talked to the doctor. She said, yeah, well, we can just poke a little hole in there and we'll just grab a little bit, and, just have to let you know that we could possibly go through the other side of your thyroid. I was like, you're not selling this to me, So I went home and thought about it a bit longer, and I thought, you know what, give the body the right tools and the body has the opportunity to heal itself. So I looked into a program over in Bali, which entailed a water fasting, juice fast, and a reset. And there's 3 ways you can do it. You can do a reset the fast way, which is just doing raw foods. You can do another reset as in juicing, which is just juicing. And then you can do another reset, which is the fastest way of resetting your body, is a 21-day water fast. I opted for the 21-day water fast, and I wanted to do that in a controlled environment under revision, you know, so you were being checked that whole time. So in that fasting process, you didn't eat anything for 21 days. All you had was water with a bit of salt, Celtic salt in it. And you went through a regime of breathing, exercise. Lymphatics was huge. Moving the lymphatics every day in a sequence every day was where the initial healing process started, and you could feel it. You could feel it. And you weren't feeding your body all the junk food, so the lymphatic was just getting water and flushing. And like you talked about, we talked about ages ago, Chelsey, about the terrain, you know, and that really hit home for me because that's what I was doing. I was cleaning my terrain. You know, when you look at this stomach, this is your ecosystem. This is your garden, okay? To fertilize your garden, you actually need to have good, you know, fertilizer, I suppose, you know. Just if you were to fertilize your garden out in the garden, you know, you would be feeding it fertilizer. So for you to feed this garden, you need to be hydrating and you need to be moving that lymphatics. So when you're not eating for 21 days and all you're doing is hydrating and moving your lymphatics, no wonder you lose weight, plus you're not eating, but everything just started getting better and better, and my brain and my thought pattern and everything just sort of like lifted and just floated off, you know. So I was sort of like really blown away by how that made me feel and how important it is to hydrate your body and do your lymphatics.
But massive, Jose. Like, I don't
Yeah.
know, but the people joining here on Facebook and the people joining in Zoom, like, have you ever done a 21-day water fast? Have you ever done a 2-day water fast? It's to get to that point for you to say, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to save my own life.
Well, I
And
had a 50-50 chance. Have I got cancer? I don't know. But do I want to know? No, because I'm going over to Bali and I'm going to sort myself out first, and I don't need cancer on top of that, you know? So, and when you're in trauma and you don't speak your truth and you hang on to all that anger and that trauma and that sadness, you're going to hang on to it in your throat because you're not speaking your truth, you know? And your lungs are not going to work because you're grieving, you know? So, breathing, that breath work, it's powerful stuff. You know, your lymphatics is powerful stuff. Hydration is powerful stuff, you know. So doing those 3 things just on its own is powerful stuff. And then 30 days of juicing. And I found it more challenging than the water fast. Believe
so
it or not.
it was 21 days of water.
Yep.
Okay. And then how long of juicing?
30 days, because I was a naughty girl, because when you leave that controlled environment, you then have to hit the real world and you're exposed to all these smells that you haven't smelled for 30 days or 21 days because you've done water. But I was in the facility for 30 days doing juicing, and then you go to the airport. Oh, yeah, I might just have a little bit of broth soup, you know, and your digestive system is just not ready for that. You know, so the whole idea is to just give that whole digestive system a break. And look, it may not be for everybody, but it certainly was for me. And I was fair dinkum. You don't go over there lighthearted and think I was already prepped a month before I went over. I worked with a coach a month before I went over, so I could go into this easily. Enemas every day. Every day you had to do an enema, because if you didn't do an enema and you're just doing water, where's that toxin going to go? Yes, you're going to do your lymph and it's going to come out in your lymph, but you're also detoxing, and you're detoxing the bowel. So sometimes you just got to help that stuff get out, you know.
So talk us through what is an enema for those who don't know.
So I've actually got an enema bag here. So I've just bought a whole heap of these.
We might just go stop share while
Yeah.
you've got full screen, Jose.
Okay, let me go into stop share. Okay, so an enema is it's like a colonics, but it only does the lower half of the bowel, which is the cecum area down the bottom of the bowel there. So you get a bag, which is 2 liters, and these are great ones because these are like a silicone bag. And then you have a tube that you plug into your bag, and then you fill it with filtered water. And then you can put some minerals. You might have heard a lot of people do coffee enemas.
Yeah.
I personally haven't done a coffee enema, but a lot of people do coffee enemas. It's not something that I do, but everybody has their own thing. I do put probiotics in my enema bag, and that works really well for me. So you have a little hook here. You fill this bag up with, you would hook that on there. You fill this bag up with filtered water. You would
cold room temperature.
Body temperature, you know, not too hot. You just want body temperature water around the 37, 37.5. And then you're going to put 2 liters of water in that. And then you're going to hang that on your towel rack, or not too high, because if you have it high, you're going to get quite a good flow. So you want to just have it nice height, so it's just nicely feeding through your tube. And then you've got a little coggle here that turns the water on and off. And then you've got this soft tube bit here that you would insert in your rectum, and there's also a couple of other ones there. So there's a white one here, which is what we call the colonics one that you can use in your bottom, or you've got a couple of other little softer ones there. People that have children that have high fevers, the quickest way to get them down is to an enema. And that's not new. That's something that was done years ago, but you wouldn't do 2 liters. You'd probably do a cup of water or something like that, especially if they haven't been going to the toilet.
Okay, so you lay on the ground, whack that up your bum.
Yep.
And how long so what happens then?
So that's obviously the water's going to run down, and you're going to lay on a towel on the bathroom floor close to the toilet. You're going to put some nice oils on your tummy. You're going to do that clockwise motion, or use your gloves while you're there. If you've got a nice long shower, pop your legs up on the shower wall, get your gloves, and then start opening up all your lymphatic system and just doing that round clockwise motion around your tummy. Put some beautiful oils on, some candles, it's some music, whatever it is, and then you're just going to let a little bit in at a time. Just add a little bit, then shut it off. Massage your tummy, because all we're doing is really trying to get rid of the bulkness in that lower part of the colon. And you might poo every day. You might do 2 poos a day, but that doesn't mean that you don't have a compaction in your bowel, because if you've had antibiotics, you've had stress, or you have gone without pooing for a couple of days or 1 day, or you've got something going on, if you can imagine a dirty old drain pipe, say your lymphatics, you imagine that lymphatic system, it's getting blocked along the way and it's held in your tissues along the way. Well, your bowel is exactly the same. The poo will come along and it'll get blocked in all sorts of crevices all the way down. And then the next poo comes along and a little bit more gets blocked along the way. So the idea is
that could be years and years of build-up.
Oh, do you know what? Elvis Presley died with 30 kilos of poo in his bowel. 30 kilos, they found compaction. You see men with really, really big bellies and hard, they're
30 kilos.
30 kilos. John Wayne died with 20 kilos of poo in his bowel. So, yeah. So you have a look at this. This is not a very good bowel, So these are all the things. But you can see there's polyps, I don't know if that's working. Is that all right? Can you see
It's
that?
fine. It's fine.
Yep. So those little poos that are stuck in there, that's your diverticulitis. So that's poo that's been sitting in your bowel, but hello, it's stuck. So now the skin's going to just grow over it, and we're now going to get diverticulitis, or colitis. Redness is gas. See all this here? This is plaque buildup. You know how you get plaque on your teeth? And we don't brush our teeth every day. Well, you get plaque buildup. If you get plaque buildup in your arteries. You get plaque buildup in your bowel, So when the plaque builds up on the bowel lining of the wall, then we're not absorbing. Our absorption rate is pretty well nil to nothing. You can be taking all the good vitamins, all the good stuff, eating all the good food, drinking all the good juices. But if there's buildup of candida, plaque buildup, parasites, now we've got poo stuck to that as well. And then it's just compaction, building up.
So when we're doing a colonic or an enema dose, how far does the water get up?
The water will travel depending on how much compaction is in. I'll bring these back down. How much compaction is in the bowel. So let's go with this one. So this is water as we drink it, right? Goes through the mouth, down the esophagus, in through the stomach, down into the through the small intestine, into the large intestine, and it's not until in this quadrant of the bowel that we decide to hydrate. So what's beautiful about this is we actually, as it goes this way, what we do is we put a speculum, just a small speculum, just like your colonics little tube here, into the rectum, and we slowly, and the beauty about closed system is we can push the water in, but we don't let any water out until we feel the pressure, until we know when to let it out. But yeah, so we're getting water to go in, and we may only get in this part of the colon, which is the sigmoid area. So when you're looking at the sigmoid area, that is this section here. Now, this is the section that will blow out like a balloon. We'll still poo every day, but this will just get, and you might say, gee, I've got a real side, the side of my hip's really sore, and some women push down in it, or they push down on this side, which is where your appendix is, down on that side. Sometimes that's compaction. Sometimes we just have a sore lower lower back. And we know we've pooed, but we haven't done a good poo. And then we do another poo, and then they're not good poos. So it's compaction, putting pressure on all the nerves, and now our lower back's starting to hurt. Okay. So what we do is we insert the speculum, and we may only be working in this part of the sigmoid lower section. Okay. So if you can think about, if you had a four-wheel drive and you went out in the paddock and you got mud all over your car, and then you came back and you didn't wash it that day, and mud sticks, doesn't it? So you haven't washed it for a few days, so now the mud's really stuck. So what you do is you get the hose and you put it on the mud guard, and you're just wetting, and then you get a bit of coloured water, and then you get a bit of clear water, then you get a bit of coloured water, and then all of a sudden the mud has absorbed the moisture in with that water. It's actually let go off the mud guard, and it just goes plop on the ground. So what we're doing is we are filling the bowel with water, and we know we can hear it, but mainly we can feel where the compaction is. So we're filling the bowel with water, and then we sort of like massage the tummy as well, because we're trying to create that moisture happening, and then eventually it will let go. Now, my personal experience, I've had a package of 10. And it was my 6 colonics before they got anything out of me. I was that dehydrated. And I said to the lady that trained me, oh, I must have a very clean bowel because you're not getting anything out of me. And she said, absolute opposite, Jo. She said, you are that dehydrated that's how long it took for my absorption to just get rid of that. So this is where I want to go next, because if you can imagine all that compaction on the bowel wall, right up here to here. This is the appendix, all right? maybe I'll start from here, where we go down into the mouth, digestion starts in the stomach, hits a reggae motion, which is like hydrochloric acid in there, so you wouldn't stick your finger. But anyway, it breaks it all down, turns it into a chyme, sends it through the duodenum. Now, it's in the duodenum area that we alkaline our food. So this is where it's really important to keep all our organs, because this is where the gallbladder and the appendix jump in and alkaline our food before it hits our small intestine. So really
but you don't need an appendix, remember? You don't need
No, we need all our... Do you know this little fella down here? He is a computer system of our whole digestive system, and they just cut it out. And sometimes they cut it out because people go in with a bellyache or, pain in the side, which could be just compaction, and they go, oh, no, it's your appendix. Oh, they're not that inflamed, but we'll take it out anyway.
We've got to do something. Do something. And then nobody leaves hospital. They're not told once they've had their gallbladder removed that they have to be on enzymes for the rest of their life.
Absolutely. So when you're looking at this little fella is so important. And reflexology, our bowel is the same, so all parts of this part of the bowel is triggers points to certain organs in the body. Now, don't quote me. And I forgot to say, anything I'm saying is purely educational.
So entertainment
only.
Entertainment only.
Otherwise, we could get in real big trouble.
Yeah.
So because I don't want you to know about this, and that's really annoying because this is all we're working with is water. So you're going to look it up, and there's a front and back to everything. Colonics, don't do colonics. It's dangerous. Well, it's just water. What, you're going to stick a camera up there? That's bloody dangerous. You nick a side of the bowel, which they do. That's dangerous. Now you have to have half your bowel cut out because they stuffed it. But anyway.
So, Joyce, before you get any further, what happens when people have their tummy? Oh, it's just gone out of like the banded surgery and things like that.
So it depends on what you have, but a lot of people get their tummy cut. It's not a good idea, but they're not given enough information, I think, or they want a quick fix. And look, it's still no judgment. I don't want to be judged because I know some people have had it and it's all been very beneficial for them, and each to their own. But my personal opinion, I don't agree with it. But, there's so many things that change in your life. The gut and the brain haven't connected. This hasn't connected with the brain to say, I can only eat quarter of a hamburger, not 3 hamburgers like I used to. They'll still buy 3 hamburgers because that's what their gut's telling them. But their brain, and it's not linking. Their brain and their gut's not linking. So, and then they can only eat small amount of food. So some people say they needed it for health reasons, but yeah, it's not a real topic I like to get too involved with. But personally, I wouldn't do it. I would try everything first. And there are ways you can do this. I'm working with a team of ladies at the moment that are going great guns on a 12-week program that just are smashing it out just by doing step-by-step processes. But also understanding the bowel and how food plays a part in your body and how important it is the lymphatics play a part in your body. You link those two together and you've hit gold. You really have. Because your brain fog's lit. Now you understand about food. Now you're learning about the gut. But get this, Chelsey. See this little blue mesenteric system here?
Mm-hmm.
I get a little passionate, don't I? See this blue web? This is called mesenteric system, right?
Mm-hmm.
So this is where your nutrition comes from. So all this little blue stuff is sitting on the outside of the large and small intestine. Okay, so this is where the absorption comes from through this duodenum area here. It's a filtration system and it goes up the portal into the liver, and the liver then filters it and disperses it off to all the other organs like a good liver should. What happens is that when you've got build-up of compaction and poo, that stuff I was talking about before, the plaque build-up, the parasites, the candida, the poo that's been sitting there for, 20 years, grandma's chicken legs still sitting up here. Well, that there is stopping the absorption. Now we're not drinking enough water. So water needs to be drunk per kilo. So every 22 kilos is a litre of water. So you can work out what your weight is. Every 22 kilos is 1 litre of water. Now, if you don't put something in your water, like salt or lemon, the body doesn't absorb hydration as good, because we're all told to drink a lot of water, a lot of water, a lot of water. But if the bowel hasn't got anything to hang on to, it just pees it out. And people say, oh, I drink all this water, but I just pee it all out. But if you
There's
put
no
something,
assimilation.
yeah, so if you put something in it, the bowel will actually grab onto it and keep that as hydration. So when we don't drink enough water, okay, we are now, this bowel is a muscle, right? And it will squeeze your stools, and this is how constipation happens. It squeezes your stools and it drains and squeezes all the moisture out of your stools. It takes it up the mesenteric system into the liver. Now we are drinking poo water. Who likes drinking poo water? Not me. So if you got a lot of BO and you do lots of smelly poos, you're not drinking enough water.
Wow.
So very important to drink water. It is really, really important to drink water. So mesenteric system, think about, even if you're thinking of, oh, I hate talking about this because every time I talk about this, I get thirsty. I'm going to drink water, so I'm going to just have a quick sip. Every time, hey, drink water. Everybody drink water now.
I drank on mine last night.
So they reckon if you're thinking, if you're already thirsty, you're already drinking poo water. Okay, so chucking a little bit of salt in your water. Now, I'm not saying like don't overdo it with salt, because we don't want to, and it has to be good salt, not your table salt that's glass that cuts into everything. You want like a good Celtic salt, which is high deep mineral water.
I don't think everybody got that then, Joe. So yeah, table salt that's
glass.
Is glass.
It's glass.
Right?
And you know, when you're taking a lot of salt, and a lot of elderly people like to put a lot of salt on their dinner, and they use that table salt, and they don't realize how processed it is, and that it is glass. So when it's going down your esophagus, it is cutting it all the way down. What happens then? Well, the job of your cholesterol is to go and repair that. Okay, so it's repairing. Now we got high cholesterol, you know, because we keep having all these wrong foods, and the salts keep cutting into our arteries. So if you flick over to a better quality salt, like a Celtic salt, which is a deep sea mineral salt, okay, it's moist, it's a lot damper than normal salt. That is one of the best salts you can have. And a little pinch under your tongue, or put some, if you have to drink 3 litres of water or 5 litres of water, depending on your weight, you wouldn't do any more than 2 teaspoons. You know, if you're 80 odd kilos, definitely no more, but you would do anywhere in between. So you could just add a little bit of salt and apple cider vinegar to your water every day. Or if you don't like salt, you can just put some lemon in your water, and apple cider vinegar or gin, anything, doesn't matter what it is. That's what the bowel's going to grab onto. That's how you're going to keep your bowel hydrated. If you're just drinking water, you're going to actually be peeing it out. So just
Joe, like when when we hose our garden with the hose from our house, yes, the grass is going to stay alive. When the rain comes and you have that decent rain, the rain is a little bit has got a little bit of acid in it, and it's enough to break up the soil to release then the nutrients out of the soil, and then our crops grow better, and then our garden and grass and everything looks so much better. It's the same with the water that we put into our body. We need to have that mineral added to it, so then our whole system can flourish.
Absolutely. And if we don't, I'm going to share my screen. We are creating an environment that has parasites. Now, where we work in St. John Hamilton, and my colleague Jules, we have seen some pretty scary stuff. Now, this is just tapeworms and old parasites that have died. We have trillions and trillions of parasites in our body. This one here, don't know if you can see my cursor, that's old stools with a whole heap of candida. See all that so that's flushed off the bowel wall. Those stools have let go and it's taken all the candida with it that was there. These are very old barnacles that have been there probably for 20, 30 years. This one here is another big parasite in there as well. Good way to detox too is saunas. But yeah, so, you know, we see tons and tons of parasites, and we're seeing some pretty weird stuff at the moment, Chelsey, and I'm not sure what it's coming from. I think we can have a good guess at where it's coming from, but
does it start with a V and it's got an X in it?
Yeah. So our bowels should be lined beautifully with the mucus, so when we poo, it just slides down and hello. Our doctor's review is in the toilet every day. So when you do a poo, you have a look at it. If it's a nice long sausage poo, hello, we're doing something good. Okay, we're eating correctly. We're getting a nice stool out. If we're getting poos that are coming out like goat pellets, no, that's not good. Okay, we're a lot dehydrated. If we're getting harder, firmer poos that look like sausages, but they have that ripple effect to it, we're dehydrated. Okay, if we do a hard poo and then we do about an hour or 2 hours later a runny poo, we're not good. You know, so we've got some real gut issues going on here. So every time you go to the toilet every morning, which you should go to the toilet every time you eat something. By the next meal, you should have gone to the toilet, eliminating. And, you know, a lot of people can do 1 to 2 poos a day, good poos, and a lot of people struggle. Had a lady come in, hadn't pooed for 5 days, and another one of those ladies that took about 4 colonics before we got anything out. Then we started moving things, and then this stuff started coming out like a hard gristle. And Jules and I have never seen that stuff before, and it was like a gristle. And all we could put it down to, because it's the mucus of the bowel, hadn't been drinking enough water, so they're absorbing that, and I don't know, it just changed. And anyway, this whole big long of gristly stuff came out, and it was the shape of the bowel. A bit of, biofilm, a lot of biofilm, which is inflammation of the bowel. You see that coming out. Biofilm is like a yellow inflammation that's also stuck on the sides of the bowel wall. Candida parasites, lots and lots of parasites come out of this lady, to the point where the tail end of it had a bit of blood where it had been stuck to the side of the bowel wall. So when you start chipping away at all the old poo, then you're going to chip away at the candida and the biofilm, and then you're getting down to the nitty gritty of the bowel wall, and then you're getting all these parasites will start coming out. And the parasites today are far superior than the parasites I think we had years ago, because something's changed, and I think we know what has. But the parasites today, we need the stuff you get from the chemist, not cutting it.
No, and there's proof, we know, you and I know, that there are 8 strands of parasites in every, you know what. So it is, doing a bowel cleanse is the most important thing for everybody to do. And when it comes to just going to the chemist and doing a couple of little tablets, it's not going to cut it, because as Josie spoke about the biofilm, so these bacteria, these parasites will put out a film around themselves. They are so clever, and that will protect them then, because they know that there's some herbs and some pharmaceuticals coming that's meant to kill them. They will protect themselves with the biofilm until they're like, okay, it's safe. We can come back out again. And you don't kill them unless you do this prolonged treatment.
So, and the quickest way to detox yourself is through colonics. 1 colonics is 3 months detox. So when you're moving that biofilm, you're moving old stuff. When you're doing an enema, even if you poo every day, it is worth doing an enema because at some point you're going to get some parasites out and you're going to see them. You know, especially if you're juicing and if you're giving yourself those nourishing foods, you're not feeding them the sugar, you're not feeding them all the crappy foods, you're feeding them real whole foods, not sugar. You know, you're adding in fermented drinks. Look, I can't say enough about these fellas. We are smashing these drinks out out at our clinic, and we are getting huge results from people just in their mindset, and they're changing their body compositions, and you know, their lives is changing, and their whole everything is working together. You know, we talk about the lymphatics, flushing out and doing our lymphatics, but hey, if you want a bigger return, you need to flush your bowel too. You need to keep all that working because your lymphatics is going to dump into your bowel as well. So you need to get that out, and you need to use that. Yep.
Let's run through what to do of all the different things you can do. And when you say juice, can you please give some examples of what to include in the juices?
Yeah, absolutely. I've actually got, if you give me 2 seconds, I've actually got
Emma has said I got 4 parasites out in my enema on day 3.
yeah.
And sometimes when you get a parasite come out and you see it in the toilet, that might be half of it that you snap off.
That's right. We're talking meters long here. We're talking meters long. Can you see that? Can you see the juice? Did the juice come out? Okay, I need to share my screen again.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is my protocol, and this works every time I send. Jules and I have been sending people home. They come in for their first colonics. We don't get much out of them because they haven't changed the way, they haven't prepped themselves to come in for a colonics. So
I can see you on a motorbike.
Oh, yeah, sorry. You can only see that one.
Yes, we can all only just see you on the motorbike.
Oh, did I not share?
You're sharing your
I'd stop that, and then I went share.
You have to click
maybe I only shared the one screen, not the 2 screens. Yeah, that was years ago. How about that?
Here we go.
Oh, yes, I'm a woman of very many talents. Okay. So we get people coming into the clinics, into the clinic, and some of them take on board, you know, ring up, find out what do I need to do. Some research it, some have a look on the website, some don't do any. They come in. Last night they had chicken palmy, they had, you know, fried rice, and they've had a beer, and, you know, and they expect to get a good result in their first, and they think one clinic's going to cut it. It's not. It's not going to cut it, especially when you feel their tummy and you can feel stuff going on there. So we send them home and we say, next time you come in, can you follow this protocol? I want you to eat as much fruit. Now, when you say, you're going to say, okay, Candida feeds off fruit. So I've gone with the conclusion as, okay, what are we treating first here? Okay, we're treating a compromised bowel that's not pooing. I want you to go home and eat as much fruit as you can. I want watermelon, pineapple. I want, you know, mangoes. I want strawberries. I want fruit. Okay, as much as you can throughout the day.
And that's on your hair test. Fruit that the hair test says that you can.
That's right. You know, so do your fruit and eat lots of it, and have, you know, for lunch you can have a beautiful salad, raw salad, and lots of fruit in your salad as well. Tomatoes, cucumbers, they're all fruits. Avocados, you know, zucchini, you know, they're all fruits. So you can have as much fruit as you want, and then have it as salad. And then of the night time, do some steamed veggies. Do that 3 days before you come in for a colonics. And you're going to find it a lot easier. It's going to be
but that takes effort, Josie.
Yeah,
I just want to lay there and have somebody else do it for me.
Well, you know, when you start pumping water up your bottom and you're full of gas and you're full of bloatingness, water can't go past gas. Okay, so when we start pumping water into the bowel, it's going to stop at the gas. And then what it's going to do is going to create that cramping and gas pain. Oh, I feel pressure. It's not pressure, it's just gas. So now we've got to work and massage and get the gas out. And then we can push the water a little bit further. and then we can push the water a little bit further. So we've got to keep working this water throughout the bowel, and we may only ever get to the sigmoid for the first 4 sessions because it's that compacted. So juice and fruits and whole foods, no pastas, no grains, no breads, no dairy, basically gluten-free. Okay. So these are some of the juices that is great. So we've got apple juices. You might wake up in the morning and you might do yourself a juice. It doesn't really matter what you put in your juice. You can do oranges, turmeric, bit of coconut water's been great. It's very full of electrolytes. Make sure it's good coconut water. Watermelons, watermelon and salt, or watermelon and mint is nice. And, you can see watermelon controls your blood pressure, weight loss, fluid retention, your brain, prevents strokes, prostrate, brain digestion. So you want to go for the fruits that you're feeling like, okay, my doctor said I've got this, my eyes, liver function, alkalining, ears, rheumatoid, blood pressure, all those things, kidney stones. You want to be doing a lot of carrot and beetroot and orange, So these are some of the juices. So you can, if you get a cold press juicer, you can juice for 3 days. You can make, okay, go and get my organic veggies and my organic fruits. I'm going to go home and I'm going to get some beautiful jars and I'm going to make myself some juices. So you want to drink, don't forget your 22 kilos, 1 litre. Now you can make that up with water, salt water. Okay, you can do 2 or 3 litres of salt water, and you can do 2 or 3 litres of juice, or a 2 litre of juice and a 1 litre of herbal, beautiful licorice tea or nettle tea or whatever herbs you need for whatever condition you're trying to treat. So, so you want to just research, or, I'm happy to supply this little juice book, Chelsey, for the people on tonight if they want to do that. So you want to get some juices going so it's easy for you. You're going to be prepped, and the best way to do this is pre-prepping. If you want to make some salads and do 3 days of salads. Put them in a jar, and they stay beautiful in a jar. Get your whole salad, put all the different things in it, all the heavy stuff down the bottom and all the, spinach and everything on the top. And then you get your salad out of the fridge, you tip it into your jar, you put a nice little bit of apple cider vinegar and lemon juice and a bit of Celtic salt, and you eat that. And you can add a little bit of protein if you want, a bit of chicken or a bit of fish or a bit of, lentils. And then for dinner, you're going to do the same again. And you don't want to overcook your steam. You just want a nice, lightly steamed veggies. If you find that you're gassy throughout that process, if you're just doing fruit, you may just need to back off because your digestive system is compromised and it's creating gas and it's creating cramping. Then we may just have to go for slightly cooked foods just to be a bit more gentler on the stomach. So you have to really understand, I'm just really gassy. It just means your stomach can't keep up with all that fibre. So you just need to, take it back a little bit. You want to add in the
digestive enzyme.
Yep, that's right. These drinks, 50 ml in the morning, 50 ml at night. First thing when you wake up, activates your digestive system and gets it ready for the day. And then in about half an hour later, you might eat fruit. And you need to eat fruit on its own. You do not put it with yogurt and cereals and all those things. Fruit needs to be eaten on its own. Okay? And then your fermented foods.
So I've got veggies in the oven at the moment. So what I like doing is putting some salt on my veggies, cooking them, getting them out, letting them sit on the bench all night, and they will grow a really good probiotic on them. And then you can have them with your salads as well.
It's like you need the prebiotic too, which feed the probiotics. So you're going to feed all these juices and good foods, which are great, which help your probiotics and your good bacteria, and then you're going to have a prebiotic, which is going to keep feeding it, and that's through foods like that. The asparagus. If you cook rice, leave it overnight and just like cook it for so many hours, like a long time, and then you leave it in the fridge, you rinse, leave it in the fridge and you wait for it, and then that creates this beautiful prebiotic for your probiotics. You wouldn't do probiotics if you suffer with SIBO, small intestine overgrowth, and you wouldn't do it if you've got a high histamine level. And the reason you got a high histamine level is you got a high candida level. Okay, so you wouldn't do those. So you need to, if you've got histamine issues, you need to clean your guts up, and then you can slowly introduce the fermented foods. Fermented foods are great. They are pre-digested. So if you're eating protein, you need to eat fermented foods with every bit of protein. And what that does is break the protein down and make it a lot easier for digestive in your stomach. If you have a sugar craving and you've just gone and had a night out and you've had a piece of chocolate mousse or cheesecake, that's okay, because sometimes enjoyment can override a lot of things. But if you go home and eat a bit of fermented food or take a bit of fermented drink, it's going to gobble up those sugars real quick that you just ate. So your candida's not going to gobble it up. So you want to beat them to the process. A lot of sugars the candida will find and feed off. Fruit is one of them. We want to have berries, the sour fruits, if you're going to go down. Once you've got your gut sorted, and you're
Once
pooing.
we're pooing, right? Once we've got that, we're pooing 3 times a day, 2 times a day, and we've got our bowel like working, and we're feeling, you can see it in your skin.
You can, absolutely.
You can definitely see if someone is congested and constipated. Their skin, they go great.
Yeah.
The color changes of their skin, but you can see when someone is hydrated and their bowels are working. Like there is nothing better than after you go and do a big poo on the toilet.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely. And this way of life is anti-aging.
yes,
You look younger. When you
yes.
start feeding your body good food, you will look 10 years younger. 10 years younger.
So then how are we going to get rid of the candida, Jose?
So when you're going to get rid of the candida, so what we're doing is we're trying to just get a little bit of balance and prepping for colonics when we're doing all this fruit and fiber. When we've done a few of those and we're starting to see some changes, which you will, we're now going to add in the probiotics. Now, people say, but if you have colonics, you're going to get rid of all the good bacteria. Well, you're going to get rid of it anyway because you're doing a poo. You're getting rid of all the good and the bad. So it doesn't really matter, but we want to get rid of the bad. And you might say, I can't eat fermented foods because it makes me feel sick. Well, it's going to make you feel sick because your environment down there is not very good. So when you're starting to add good buddies in, hits the bad buddies or the bad environment, the only thing we want is to get out. I want out. This is not very nice down there. I want out. So you just back it off. Take a little bit at a time. And when I'm talking about fermented foods, I'm only talking if you can't eat them because you don't like them, you just need to get a fork and get the end just a little bit on the fork. That's all we're talking, and just eat that or put it in your salad. And then next time you add a bit more. Next time, and then I'm not joking, you will be standing at the fridge eating it out of the jar because that's how good these little fellas work. You will be craving it actually, and you will be craving the drinks. And these drinks have look, I've just got girls that have had lots of health issues and mental health issues. And just by doing this, adding that in their lymphatics has made a huge change to their lives, So we still want to have some sort of sweetness in our life.
I'm just going to look up while you're talking. I'm just going to look up the ingredients of a Yakult.
Yep. No. Yeah. We're not doing Yakult.
just for
and
fun.
it's the same with kombucha, Chelsey. Kombucha, and look, don't get me wrong, and it's just purely my opinion and what I've been trained in. Kombucha is good and it will feel good for the first few, weeks or so. But what happens is it's made off of wild fungus. And then that has generally added a lot of sugar. And then what happens is if it's not made correctly, it can actually have a reverse effect and feed the candida. So we don't, in body ecology, actually do kombucha, but we do kefir. And kefir is fantastic. And that's what these are. They're like a coconut kefir.
Are you ready for this? Yakult, water, skim milk, glucose, fructose syrup, sucrose, natural flavors. Oh, and then the last ingredient is a lactobacillus. So
lactobacillus is probably the only good thing in there. but
five sugars.
yeah, yeah.
And it's probably got 5 stars.
Well, it will have, Chelsea, along with all the other stuff that they buy for 5 stars. And then they've got
Yeah.
no. You know what the best thing that I ever got? I'll turn my phone off. Have you heard that Yucca app?
Yes.
YUKA.
So but just be careful with that Yucca app. It is good, but it gave my body cream a score of 40 out of 100 because
Yeah,
I've got less than 1% of my of the binder, which is a natural product, of less than 1% in there. But because it's included as an ingredient, I got a 40 out of 100 score for
yeah,
my cream. So
yeah,
sometimes it's good,
yeah.
and then sometimes it's not
I
so.
mean, you can, sometimes I go and we just did it for, a bit of fun and did all the shampoos and conditioners and it's like nothing good. It's like
Yeah.
nothing's good. But anyway, I found that has helped some of the people with kids, and they go down the aisle and get snack foods for the children. And it's just trying to find that better quality one. But yeah, I was going to say,
So what have you got there? And our good gut protocol, Jose.
oh yeah, absolutely. This is Leconto. The Chinese government, Japanese government only ever use this in their health system because Leconto doesn't recognize, Candida doesn't recognize Leconto. So Leconto, stevia, xylitol are probably the three main sugars that Candida doesn't recognize as a sweetener. So if you've got children and they won't drink this drink, you can always add a little bit of Leconto to that because it will not spoil it. You can always add it to a juice too. So yeah. But
Great
yeah,
tip.
yeah. Fermented foods
And
are a good combination as well. So I guess my take on all this is just, lymphatics, and then good food, and fermented foods to recorrect the digestive system and get things working, get some good bacteria in there, enemas and colonics.
So we got a question, Jose, about binders.
Mm.
You need to take a binder when doing colonics.
Look, if you're eating normally, no, we don't do that normally. But if you're doing a detox, yes. If you're
Yes.
doing a water fast, definitely.
Yeah. So if you're wanting to get rid of heavy metals, which, hello,
Mm.
everybody does need to do a heavy metal detox. So we've got so many different detoxes that you can focus on. Some people will go and get a heavy metal test done where we take the hair from your scalp area. And that's all fine and good to test and see what metals you do have in your body. But I just think that the money that you spend on the test, you can be putting towards the protocol and doing a detox for it anyway.
Yeah, that protocol, the Quenda, and is amazing. That
Yeah.
it, yeah. But again, Chels, my personal opinion, you should be doing enemas with that because of the amount
Yeah.
of stuff that you're going to eliminate, and you want to support your body one step all the way. And enemas are probably the quickest way you will be able to support your body. And look, I know sometimes it's like, I'm not going to do that. It's too hard to get up and down off the floor. But the first probably 3 or 4 times will be because of the energy and the achingness that you're going to have in your body and all that sort of stuff. But when you start doing it, it's really about your movement. And that's another thing, movement is great. Joint
Yeah.
movement and breathing, your lymphatics, bouncing on your little mini tramp. All those little things put together are going to support you through the changes,
Yeah,
and
change the environment. You got
yeah,
to change the environment of your gut. You got to get rid of the baddies that are just hanging on, that are causing no good.
yeah.
Uh, and then get those new soldiers in.
I got girls coming in and saying, I want to do this. I want to do this. I've seen the results and I've seen all, you girls that you've amazing results. I don't believe just, okay, go and do this, go and do a juice and do that for this many weeks. It's not about that because it doesn't sustain. We don't learn anything by that. you know. It's one step at a time. Let's start with your lymphatics first. Let's do some colonics. Let's start adding in some foods. Let's start taking out, even if it's just one thing, because they're, you know, they could be rather large people that don't know where to start. Where do I start? And you just have that conversation. Where could you start? What are you willing to give up? Where are you at the moment? How are you emotionally? You know, have you got any stress in your life? There's lots of things to put in consideration before I say, yeah, go and do a juice fast, because you'll crash and burn. And if you don't support your body through a fasting process, then you will crash and burn. And sometimes it may just be a little fast that you start off with. And you might say, okay, I'm going to stop eating at 6 o'clock at night at dinner, and then I'm not going to eat until 9 o'clock the next day. And then you might have your fruit and your juice, whatever. And then you might go, okay, next week, I'm not going to eat until 10 o'clock the next day. And then you work your way up, and you maximum, you want to try and get, you know, anywhere between 15. But this is a not forever thing. This is just to help kickstart you to get the brain and the gut connection moving, you know.
And then what happens when you go back to your doctor, Josie?
Oh,
After you've done all of this, what happens
tell
then?
you. Well, get me, Chelsey. I had all my reports done, bloods done before I went over there. Right now, I got Gilbert syndrome. I don't know if you know what that is, or Billy-Rubin's disease, or it's a liver disorder, okay? And generally, that's genetic, right? And there was a lot of other things, my LDLs, my HDLs, and all the other LDLs, and all my vitamins and everything. I was not good. I was not good. And then they did that at the start of my fast, and I recommend doing that. Go to your doctor, get all your vitamins and all your everything, your cholesterol, your inflammation markers, everything. Get that done. Then start. Okay, you give yourself now. So when I got back, it's 3 months later, probably 5 months, I went and got my bloods done again. So my level for my bilirubins was 48. And in that month, or that 3 months, my level's 17. It's almost normal. My cholesterol was off the Richter scale, and I probably would have been going on, you know, tablets. Is better than better. The bad one is just the best, you know. And the doctor was quite amazed. She was going, "My God, look what you've done. You've rectified. You turn on and off genes. You can turn genes on, and you can turn
Absolutely.
genes off just by what you do and what you eat, you know." So, and that I've got scientific proof on that, because I did that before. I turned a whole lot of genes off. And Smart DNA wanted my genes, because they said, have a look at this lady. All these inflammation markers she's had, now look at what she's done here. She's turned them all off. And people say, but it's in my genes. Yeah, but it's in your genes because we live a certain way. We live a certain life. And we talk about heritage and, you know, our culture. That has a lot to play in it as well. But when you can turn genes off, and you run a beautiful green light, just like at the traffic lights are all green, and all those inflammation markers are turned off. Why
Yeah.
don't the doctors tell you that? Why don't they say, you know, like when I went with, why don't you just go and say, oh, we're going to monitor you for 2 to 5 years? Why not? So in 5 years' time, you're going to tell me I've got cancer? Why not tell me now, okay, let's start changing your life. What's going on? What are you eating? How can we improve? How can we get these bloods better? No, we'll just monitor you for 5 years and then say, oh, you've got cancer. We'll rip your thyroid out now, you know.
Yeah.
So you
And
know
we've,
what else? Sorry, Chelsey.
you're
I
right.
got my scans done, an ultrasound done. They're still there, right? So it took probably, I reckon, 3 to maybe 5 years to get what I've got. So I'm giving myself 3 years for it to work away, because you just can't, you know, healing takes time. So 1% decreased in 3 months. 1%. I'm running with that.
Go for that, girl.
I am.
Mm.
You know, with all the work, and my eyesight improved 1%.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, give the
Yes.
body the right tools and you can do anything, and you can achieve anything. And then you're powered to move forward and become whatever you are, the best person you are, to achieve whatever you want to achieve, because you're going to feel fantastic.
And how good does it feel, Josie, to be an example and now to be able to share what you've done with other women and to lift them. It feels
Yeah,
pretty good,
absolutely.
doesn't it?
Well, it was, it's all about passion, and I've always been in this, in and out, in and out, in and out, and I'm a person that has to walk the talk, and if I'm not feeling my best, I'm not going to be promoting gut health because look at you, look at that picture. I mean, would you take any advice off that lady? Look at her.
Well, we did, right? We did, and you got right, and you did get great changes
I did,
with
yes, I did.
clients.
But
Yeah.
in myself, my own confidence
Mm,
wasn't there. Like I knew what I was doing and I knew that I was feeling better each day,
yeah.
but the knowledge was still sitting. It was like a filing cabinet that was closed, but it slowly started to open and until now it's fully open and everything's back. Hello,
Yeah.
hallelujah.
And
So
you jumped in 2 feet head first. I'm in, I'm doing this. And
I'm Well,
we
that's the same. And you tell me, Chelsea, you say, Chelsea says, do this. What do? I do it. Do that. I do it. If you're going to tell me to do something, I'm all in. I'm not 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I'm generally all in,
yeah,
so yeah.
yeah. So we're cleaning out our gut with our better diet. We're taking these steps, these hard steps at the beginning. It is so much easier at the other side, right?
Absolutely,
It is it's because your brain doesn't even go to those bad things. It doesn't even go to the bad thoughts because when you have that bacteria rubbing to the goodies rubbing together in your belly, it's that good signal that's going up the vagus nerve up
yeah.
to your
That's
brain.
right.
And you
Yeah.
don't even think about having a beer after you mow the yard. And it's just you just feel vibrant after you finish mowing the yard. It's like, okay, well now I can clean the pool.
Yeah.
Or now I can go to the beach and have a swim.
Mm.
It's just these good thoughts just keep on coming up and 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. And then, yeah, you feel so good and it doesn't even feel like an effort.
Well, my girls that are on the program, they're not even drinking coffee at the moment. They're not eating bread. They're not having sugars. And they said they don't want them. They don't they're so focused at the moment. And these people have got little families. These mums have got 4 children, 5 children, busy mums, work all day and trying to hold it together. They're trying to hold it together and go, yep. And they're slowly feeling better each day and they're believing in the process and they're believing in themselves,
Yeah.
that they can do it. So
Yeah. Thoughts, feelings, actions, results.
yeah, that's right. So
A couple of questions, Joyce, before we finish up. So if you've got any more questions, please pop them in the chat box. What about pumpkin seeds?
yeah, beautiful, great, good for parasites. There's a great little recipe you can make with the pumpkin seeds. Is you grind up all your pumpkin seeds, some coconut. You can put in a little bit of coconut oil, a little bit of xylitol, or dates if you wanted to. And then you just make them into a little protein ball. You can put a protein powder in them, and they are great. And they're called little worm balls because they're green and they've got little white coconutty things on them that look like parasites. And
Uh,
amazing. So
uh,
pumpkins,
pumpkin
absolutely.
seeds, yes.
Yeah.
Any other seeds?
Any other seeds?
Seeds, yeah.
Yeah,
Just
flax seeds are great for the bowel. Chia seeds are great for the bowel. Making chia seed puddings up and having them, and with some sort of nut milk, preferably not dairy. We don't do dairy and we don't do gluten and we don't do sugar. So, and we don't do alcohol and we don't smoke.
have you seen the mix? It's called Blend 11.
Blend 11. No, I
Blend,
haven't.
Blend 11. So we're at the Menopause Summit on the weekend, and this lady, she just called herself the poo lady,
Mm.
and beautiful poo lady she is. And she has a mix called Blend 11. So I was just wondering if you had,
No, I haven't heard that. I
whether
might
you've
have
seen
that
that.
up. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, next question, Greg. I get my clients to discharge with Epsom salts. So to do a Epsom salts bath after they finish their lymphatic massage.
Yep, beautiful. Yep,
Mm.
yep.
And
Absolutely. Well, we know how good Epsom salts is too.
so Greg has a good tip with that too. When you're soaking in a bath, is not to soak, I think, longer than 20 minutes because you're doing the Epsom salts, you're draining, you're pulling all of the crap out that we've massaged like around out of your skin, then you're not reabsorbing it back in.
Yeah.
So you're staying in the bath for about that 20 minutes
And I,
when
I
you do.
guess Yeah, I guess that is a bit like your detoxing. It's the same detoxing level, whether you're doing your regime, you're doing all your detoxing stuff, and then you're scraping your tongue, you're doing your breathing, you're doing a, Epsom salt bath. It's all part of it, isn't it? Your lymphatics
Well,
helping eliminate.
and for people to say, "Oh my God, I've got to brush my tongue and brush my teeth, and then I've got to brush my body, and then I've got to have Epsom salts, and then I've got to put a tube up my bum, and then I've got to do eating all of this green stuff, and then I've got to do juicing, and then you know what? That's because the environment of what we're living in. Yes, you do have to.
If you want to feel better, you do.
Yep.
It's not
That's
forever.
it.
It's just to kickstart. And, that's what I work on. Let's just kickstart you off and get yourself in a little routine. If you can't get to it. Like my daughter, she's doing a juicing cleanse at the moment, and she's finding the time to do enemas because she's pulling out some huge parasites, and
And
she's
yep.
amazed. You know.
And even if you just have one day that you do some juices on,
Yep.
that's okay too.
It's step-by-step process. You don't want to overwhelm yourself, and I know that we've given you a lot of information, but you just take out what you need to get you started, and then you take the next step. So get one thing happening. If it's just one thing and it might be just doing some juices for one day, do that.
Yay.
That's a
Yep.
good start. You'll feel better.
Leonie would like to see the bottle of drink of the probiotics. Where does she get that from? That's that cocoa. Is it the cocoa one?
This is antibiotics.
In a
And
in a
and then
biotic?
this is Grainfield. They're in Capalaba. This is the Grainfields. This is quite yummy. A pomegranate one, and there's the coconut one there too. So you can go to AGM Foods and order it online with AGM Foods. Yeah. Or some maybe Bodycology, or some outlets may sell the Bodycology products, or the Grainfield products. So but if you have any dramas, just give me a bell and I can arrange it, and give me all the
Yeah.
details, and I'll get it sent to you.
Okay. And then our good gut protocol is our VitaCleanse as well as the Quenda, the ultimate fiber. It is a good way to kill. It used to be able to kill, I would say, used to be able to kill a lot of all the parasites, Jose, and same with the ultimate fiber with the Quenda. But since the you know what, we're seeing that it is taking a little bit longer to to
Absolutely.
to work and to do. So yeah, that having that fiber, and I tell you, when you take the ultimate fiber, it cleans you out. So you might be pooing like 6 times a day, and you're like, where is this coming from? But it's just you go again and you go again. But it's also got a lot of good herbs in it too, and a lot of iron in it. So it's quite restorative as well, the Quenda. So the Good Gut Protocol is on my website, and you can go into detoxification and you can help. But nutrition is really important, that using organic if you can with your fruit and veggies, but also taking a supplement, taking a greens, taking an antioxidant, taking a vitamin C, definitely having a magnesium. All of those things add up to your water. So I know I take my reds, my antioxidants in the morning, then after food, I'll have my greens in my water, and then I get to work, then I have my vitamin C in my water. So all day when I'm drinking water, I'm also having it super boosted with all of the nutrients, all of the great vitamins and minerals that we need to have every day that we are so deficient in. And if you're overdoing it, Jose, because then you're going to have the diarrhea, right?
Yeah, you're gonna have that, and that's the front and back of everything too. I sort of maybe overdone it and ended up with a little bit of a flu. So, well, no, I don't know whether it was a flu. I'd had a lot of stuff that I did in a short amount of time because I got all my blood results back. So I wanted to take a few more things, and I had an IV, and I had this, and I had that, and then yeah,
Yeah.
when your body is
Isn't it?
detoxing, you will feel those. And just be mindful if you are going through detox, or you do start taking something, and you do start feeling unwell, and you might say, that didn't work for me. Actually, that was actually working. It's just what you're not doing is you're not supporting your body through that detox. So the elimination is going to hit you quite harder. And that's where the enemas and the colonics can support you so you don't go through that really big detox moment. So always think about, you know, not doing too much at once, but just also balancing it out. So you're detoxing, but you're supporting that detox. You're doing the metals, you know, the heavy metals by taking, you know, whether it's charcoal or bentonite clay to help take the metals out while you're doing your detox. So it's important to support every modality in that detoxing thing.
Yeah, yeah. So Diane on Facebook, it says, thank you so much, Jose. I've learned a lot. Shell, thank you. Trace, wonderful. Josie, so Tracy is listening in. Wonderful, Josie. You look brand new. So good. Well done from Haley. Yeah, yeah. It feels good to feel good, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. And I was, you know, even though I thought I was feeling good when I was with you, Chelsey, I feel
Yeah.
1,000 better now.
New
Yeah,
woman, new
yeah.
woman.
Mm,
And it's so encouraging and it's really good for everyone to see, to show your befores and your afters
yeah,
and that how bright, you know, you're shining
yeah.
with all of this. So yeah, thank you so much, Jose, for telling your story.
Thank you.
And so you're up in Mackay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can people do your course anywhere where they live, or do they have to live in Mackay?
No. They can definitely reach out on to, you know, whether it's, you know, through you, Chelsey, or whether it's through Pro Gut
And boot
Camp.
camp.
Unfortunately, my Facebook page is not working still. So it's just Josie Giles. You can message me on Facebook, Josie Giles, as a private message, and I will get back to you.
We'll
And
put your link into Boob Camp.
okay, yep,
Okay.
yep,
So if yeah, we could put a post into Boob Camp and
yep.
or we can share the your slides, those slides into Boob Camp, and then people can get in contact with you.
So how do I give you that juice one?
So what we'll do is if you email that to me,
Okay.
and
Oh,
then Mads can put all of your details into Facebook because he's the technological one out of
okay.
us. You know, and
Yeah.
he can do that. So if we can just make sure that, so the takeaways, what's your takeaways, everybody listening in? Give me what your takeaways are in the chat box, please. What's your takeaways? What are your action steps going to do? Because you've listened in with me. You've been here for 3 days on Boob Camp. Day one, where we talked about education and the reasons why the lymphatic system is so important. And then we used our gloves and I showed you how easy it is to massage your body using the spiky side as well as the magnetic ball side, and then incorporating the creams into your sequence. And then we also did our face. We did our glymphatic drainage. And we did talk a lot of real hard truths as well. And then tonight, getting down deep with the gut and how important it is that we can get rid of that junk that we've been holding on for so long. And like it is something, if you have a look, Jose, the women who have a lot of candida in their body are those mother hen type women, are the women who look after everybody else, are the ones who put themselves last, all right? And they hold on to this candida. So we have to be able to, when we're changing the bacteria in your gut, like we are more bacteria than what we are human. When we are changing this bacteria, we are changing who you are. Okay.
Absolutely. Mm. Don't forget about men too, you know, men that
That
are
was my point.
alcoholics, you know. Anybody that drinks a lot of alcohol, they're already candida. It's a given. They're loaded. Children, ADD, autistic. Any autistic child should be on the good cut, you know, protocol, should be on foods, should be on fermented foods, because it's all about the gut when it comes to autism. Honest to God. Look it up with Donna Gates. She is
Definitely.
one of the leading autism lab specialists in the world. And it's all about adding in the fermented foods. They're fantastic for your ADD and all those children. But yeah, it's not discriminative, Candida.
No. And if you've got worms, parasites, candida, guess what? Your partner does too.
Mm.
So if you're going to do this cleanse and be shiny and bright and beautiful, and they don't, what's going to happen, Jose?
Reinfecting. Reinfecting.
Right? They're going to reinfect you. So all
Got it
this
on
wonderful,
got it on their tongue and you're giving them a kiss. Now you got it on your tongue.
yeah,
You know?
and like even bed sheets, even
Mm.
like hands. When you touch, kids will not wash their hands after they go to the toilet, and that type of thing.
Animals. Animals.
Animals.
But we are meant to have a certain amount of parasites, Chelsea. I mean, it is that worm garden, stuff, but we have an overload, It is an overload of parasites that, we're getting at the moment. So we are meant to have a certain amount.
Yeah, yeah, and we're never going to get rid of all of them. Like we are
You're
meant
never
to
going
have.
to get rid of Candida either.
No, no. So the good
All you
bacteria,
want to do is quieten it.
yeah, it's supposed to live in your bowel. It's not, the Candida isn't supposed to be systemically all throughout your body.
Yeah, that's right.
It needs to be in your bowel.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to read some of the last comments, Jose. Great information. Thank you. I need to get my bowel working better. Yes. Going to use gloves daily and lymphatics. Looking at perhaps doing colonics and detoxing more. Great. And if you want any help on the enemas and different things, and if you want Josie to do another little video, ask in BooB Camp. She's our expert there. All right. She's there to help. Deb, gloves, hair test, good gut protocol. Perfect. Trace, I need to drink more water. I think can we just OD on water for a week? If we could just go drink as much as we can. Hales, start slowly and gradually build up all of these things into my daily routine. Yes. So I've increased to 2 glove sequences a day and starting the lymphatics and definitely going to reach out to Jose. Fantastic. Nat, my takeaway is to keep the pathways open. I love my gloves and I'm starting to rebound. Yes. So how
Right.
is that, like, just a picture yourself that everything is open? Everything just flows through you, right? We are just a tube from here down to there with bits and pieces hanging onto it. Can you explain how the spit test works? Yes. So what you're going to do, Renee, is get a glass of water, a glass filled with water. Take it to bed with you, put it next to you. When you wake up in the morning, I want you to think, oh, that's right. Chelsey said I have to spit into the glass of water. So get wherever spit is in your mouth, not a goobie. So no goobies. So you're just going to get whatever spit is in your mouth, spit that into the glass of water, put that into the fridge. Wait about 4 hours, have a look, all the rest, or when you get home from work. If your spit is on the top, it's going to take 1 month on our good gut protocol, 2 months if your spit is hanging in the middle, 3 months if it's a big gobby on the bottom. Your body is literally covered in candida if it is on the bottom. We've got a special name for you. You are a bottom dweller, and most women will be sitting on the bottom. The shitty thing about this is that if men have candida, they can clear it in a month. They don't have all the emotional hang on shit like women do. So men can normally do a 1 month on the protocol and nail it and feel so much better and lose the weight and all the stuff. Women, it's normally a 3 month sequence protocol that you're doing with your cleanse out. You will be able to shorten that time by having your colonics too. All
Just a
right.
little there on that one there, Chelsea. I just shared
Oh
that
yeah.
on. I think, can you see that?
Yeah, you can see the picture on the top with a little bit of legs and
Yeah.
hanging in the middle, and then bottom dweller on the bottom.
Yeah.
That's how you're going to tell. I think everybody needs to do a gut cleanse twice a year. All right.
Absolutely.
My 12, Renee, how was that? Does that make sense? And my 12-year-old son loves the cultured veggies. Yay! That's beautiful. Good gut protocol, 1 day at a time. Using the gloves daily, cleaning up my diet. Yes, Mrs. Reed. Perfect. Um, What, Trace, what I'm going to do, colonics, fermented food drinks after protein, good gut protocol, and fast for a term. Okay, Trace, let us know in Boob Camp when you're going to start. And if anybody wants to join you, they can do it with you. Okay. So if anyone wants to join Trace, she's going to pop it into Boob Camp. And I'm putting her on the spot here now that she has to do it. She'll put in when she's going to start. And then if everybody wants to join her, go for it. Okay. From Diane, continue with the Boob Camp. Yeah, doing the lymphatics, then the cream and the mag, clean out my gut. I am a mother hen and have had candida all of my life. I've had antibiotics all of my life, and it's a vicious circle. You've opened my eyes to so much is what's going on in my body. You know, Diane, yeah. And believe me, you're not alone. But if this is something that we're not told about, is because it's the antibiotics and the pharmaceuticals that are causing the candida. The medical system can't give you anything that's going to help with candida. So it's just something that is swept under the carpet, not even spoken about, but it's the first thing that you should be looking at. Yep, Trace said she's in. She's in. Yay. Yes, go, Jace. Jose.
I've just got, this is a little book that I've put together with everything that I've talked about tonight.
Yeah.
So it's just a little bit of a rundown. It's got some food, a list of foods. It's got some meats. It's got some acid foods. It tells you how it plays a part in your body if you eat these certain foods. Meats to eat, what the benefits of cultured veggies are, what the benefits of kefirs are, the fermented foods. You know, babies can eat them right from a very young age. You know, this little girl had kefir on her first day of life because they whisked her away and gave her antibiotics. So I freaked right out and went home and got kefir, and we gave 1 ml of kefir to 2 ml of colostrum just to inoculate her stomach. They never even put her on the boob before they gave her antibiotics. I just totally lost it. So a bit of information about fermented foods. I will be doing a fermenting workshop. I'm thinking of doing one online, so why don't we do that one with the Boob Camp?
Absolutely, Jose. Yep.
Send out whether we send out a list and you all get all the foods, and we'll just do it all together at the same time, or whether you just want to watch me do it. Bit of information there of what we just went through, the detoxing, the parasites. So it's just a little booklet. And then there's a story at the back end of that on, food combining. Eat this way and you won't get, gas, and what foods you should be eating with what. So protein and starches shouldn't be put together. They create gas. 80-20 rule. 80% on your plate should be veggies, 20% acid and protein. 80% of your tummy should be, full, leaving 20% digestion. And then a little story about me and a little bit of story about me. So I will give you that as well, Chelsey, and I'll email you that. So if anybody wants that, they can reach out for that.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we'll add it into Boob Camp, and we'll put a day when you want to start working through that, maybe. And we'll just see what the interest is. So if you're interested, please go to Boob Camp and say, yes, I'm in. Okay. And then Josie can help everybody get started with your gut, because we are always here to help you the best that we can. We're here to put our time in and our effort in because we love you.
Yeah.
And because we see how much of a change this makes, and it fills our cup.
Yeah. When you make your own fermented foods, it's better bang for your buck for a start, and it's a lot cheaper. You know, a little bottle like that, you're looking at almost $16. These are $32 when we can just make it with coconut water for $3 and a bit of culture starter. So
yeah,
better value.
Okay. Big love, Jose. Big love, ladies, for you turning up and putting this time and effort into you. Just listening, just you turning up is enough for a start, because you may then get triggered. Somebody else might say something like, oh, That's what those two crazy ladies in boot camp were talking about the other night. I was like, oh, okay. You'll start to see it turn up a little bit more. These signs from the universe are meant for you, right? This is not like we said at the start, this is not a judgment. This is not where you've got yourself now is where you've got yourself. Who cares? It is what it is. Line in the sand. What you choose to do when you wake up tomorrow, that's on you, right? Make those decisions, make just one little bit better decision each day. And that's where you're going to get to the picture frame. That's where you can go, how do I want to feel? How do I want to react? What clothes do I want to wear? Well, don't wait. Start imagining yourself in them now, because the brain doesn't know the difference between imagination and reality. So if you start imagining yourself already being that future person, you're going to get there 10 times faster. So put this into practice. How do you want to feel? And then make the decisions. Is eating that block of chocolate and that cheeseburger going to get me to that person that I want to be? No. So then you make the choice. Is it choosing this salad or choosing these vegetables or choosing these prebiotic foods? Is going for a walk, is using my gloves, doing my lymphatic system, brushing my tongue, all these little things, rebounding, dancing, having some fun, joking with my friends. Is that going to get me to that person, that feeling that I want to be? Yeah. Decision made. All right. Take the effort to be conscious. Stop living unconsciously where we're just rolling through the days. You're going to look back and go, where did that year go? Where did the 6 years go? How did I even get to this age? Start living consciously. Make the decisions and take control of your life. Okay? Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah. All right. Big love, Jose.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody, for joining in. I have loved every single day of Boob Camp. Any questions at all, pop it into the group. We are there. And can I just give you all a massive round of support and applause, because you guys are turning up and answering for all the new people that are joining in Boob Camp. I go in and I read some of the answers and I'm like, wow. Like, I love how we've now got women going in and answering questions exactly how I would answer them. So that's when, when you start teaching, when you know it that much that you can help other people out, that's like, it's gold for me. So yeah, thank you so much for all of you helping out the new people joining, the new ladies joining Boob Camp. Big love, everyone.
Thanks, everybody. Mwah.
Good night.